Strength of street knowledge. Straight out of Compton.
Ball right now. Not that NWA though.
No, but we will talk some NWA football.
Northwest Arkansas.
Northwest Arkansas.
NWA football. We're going to talk some NWA football, just not that NWA. Northwest Arkansas football. I'm Brad Caldwell. That was a surprise, by the way.
I'm Aaron Powers. It wasn't supposed to happen that way, but it did, and here we are.
We had this whole thing set up. We're gonna do it, right? It's always something, right? It's always something. But anyway, glad to have you along. One of the reasons we're talking NWA football right now is because we were supposed to be in Fayetteville today, but this guy right now is, well, feeling 45.
You look like $1 million.
Oh man, I don't know about that.
Yeah, old green and crinkly.
If if this is what $1 million looks like, I'm not sure I want it. But anyway, that being said, I had a back issue now for 3 weeks, and this morning I woke up and it just said you're not going to Fayetteville, and so here I am. I'm feeling a little better right now, but it seems like every morning I wake up, it's a little worse. So maybe some people can tell me, why is it that my back is stiff after I sleep, but as I wake up and get going, that does take me a while. It takes me about 3 hours to get going. So maybe some of you amateur doctors out there can tell me what's going on.
Did you get your legs rotated every 6,000 miles?
Oh, man.
Did you forget that last time or something? Or?
Well, I know these legs got some mileage on them for sure. Anyway, we're glad to talk some football anyway, and it's going to be a good time here. And again, NWA, Northwest Arkansas football, as we're going to just kind of delve into what's going on up in that area of the state. Now, Aaron, I'm going to ask you this because the geography majors in the crowd might say Northwest Arkansas football is anything above I-40.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not looking at it that way. We're talking about Northwest Arkansas, top left corner of the state, Fayetteville, Springdale, Bentonville, Rogers, Greenland, West Fork.
The extreme northwest corner.
Prairie Grove.
Because technically,
Elkins.
According to the Arkansas map, we're technically northwest corner.
That is correct.
Our county, Polk County here.
That is correct. And I guess that's.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I feel like we're more northwest central.
I think there's something to be said about culture as well, right? I mean, when you're doing this, sometimes it's about the culture that area expounds, right? And Northwest Arkansas, that the area that we're going to be talking about today, they have more of a Midwesterny feel, while this area, I would say, our area is probably as good a representation of Arkansas as there is, because you got a little bit of everything. You got a little bit of farm, you got a little bit of mountain, you got a little bit of valley, you've got a little bit of everything here in this area. And then, of course, you've got your other areas, and they're represented differently, and they feel different. And so, anyway, that being said, we're talking Northwest Arkansas football today here on
Extreme Northwest.
The Audible. Now, with that being said, we're set for our event in Van Buren next week. That will happen. I've already got a replacement if I need one. So
that's good.
I've got an on-deck batter that if something happens, I've got somebody ready to go. So we're going to be okay there. Today, I did not have an on-deck batter. I was the last batter with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, and I struck out. That's how that worked.
No pitch hitter.
Anyway, so we're going to talk Northwest Arkansas football, and man, there's a lot of good football up there. Obviously, it's one of the better regions in the state of Arkansas. When you're talking about football, maybe not the very top region. It used to be. It used to be the top region in Arkansas. About, if you go back to like, I don't know, late 90s, early to 2000s to 2010, I think, is that kind of that region's heyday. At one point, the 7A West won like 13 championships in a row. Now that was 5A West to 6A West to 7A West. It might not even have been 7A at the time. It might have just been 6. Anyway, and then that ended, and then the Central has been dominant now for many years, but still got some very competitive teams up there in Northwest Arkansas in the 7A. And then, as of recently, what do we got here? Thank you. Okay, gotcha. We'll do that in just a second. As of recently, Elkins was a team that pulled out and won a state championship last year. Elkins is a rising team, a rising program, one of the top programs in 4A right now, the Elkins Elks. We'll talk about them. Gravett, we're going to touch on them today. We're going to talk about them a little bit because they're also a rising program under Kelby Bohannon. So you got the 7A, you've got that 4A corridor up there, and then you got a couple 3A teams, West Fork and Greenland. Those are your teams up in the 7A West, up in that area. Anyway, we want to thank WarpStream for being a partner with us. Do we got the link in the bio?
And there's a link there. You can click on it and get a discount on the Warp Stream.
Okay, so WarpStream is this. You can take over your child's recruiting in the palm of your hand with your iPhone by making videos. You can literally make your own kids' highlight videos with all of the nice bells and whistles, all of the markings, circles, music, different things of that nature. You can use that, and you can control all of the information that you want to control, putting it out. So if your kid is getting under recruited, you have the tools in your hand to help them and help you disseminate the information that you want there. Check out the link in the bio there with WarpStream. Also, Toad Thumper
Lures.
Right?
Yeah.
Lures.
Yeah. You got it.
Not lures. That's how I say it, right?
Herndon-Fuqua.
Right.
Toad Thumper Lures, yes, sir.
But I usually say lures.
The Arkansas NU
lure.
kind of leaks out.
I try to put that away, by the way. I don't say wash. Don't say wash.
Far.
No far. Now, my dad, if any of you watching right now, you know my dad, my family, if you are like any kind of assembly of God in any way, you know my family. My Uncle Dean is a well-renowned preacher in this area and really around. My dad is a well-known as well. His twin brother is also a preacher, and then I have an Uncle Randy who is just outrageous. He's crazy. So, and he's also a preacher. A very well-known group of people in the state of Arkansas. And my dad, maybe of all of them, is a little bit more of, and they're redneck as it gets, but they're the worst. My dad's probably the worst when it comes to that. He doesn't say specific; he says Pacific. Those type of things. So I've tried to get away from that. I feel like I've done a decent job of that. I am college educated. With that being said, I still have trouble with lures. I think I learned how to say it though. Anyway, Toad Thumper Lures.
We'll make you learn it one of these days.
Right. We're going to go down and visit the man of the Toad Thumper Lure ilk.
Ooh.
Cody Tedford.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to go visit him at Dirk's.
Dude.
Coming up. Anyway, all that being said, glad to have you along here. And again, we're talking Northwest Arkansas football. Lots of questions up in Northwest Arkansas. Just kind of looking over the returning players in Northwest Arkansas. Not a ton of returners in Northwest Arkansas this year. A lot of newness up in Northwest Arkansas, but you still have programs that you feel like by the end of it, they're going to be there. Bentonville being one of those. I picked Bentonville to win the 7A last year. Now, with that, I now make a rule that I will not pick anybody else to win 7A unless it's Bryant, Nobody else until they show me otherwise. So Bryant has won 7 out of 8 state championships. The only one that they missed was 23, which was Coach Quad Sanders' first year there. They lost the semifinals. Since that time, 2 state championships there for Coach Sanders. And then before that, 5 more state championships in a row, 7 out of 8. So again, when we go make our picks, I'll just guarantee one right now. I'm picking Bryant to win the state championship in 7A until somebody shows me otherwise. But with that being said, we've got Bentonville here. Still a very solid program here under Coach Jody Grant. And Coach Jody Grant leading his program right now, it seems like they're still the cream of the 7A West, which for the most part, they've won several. I don't have it offhand how many they've won in a row. Well, I do know how many they've won in a row. They won 2 in a row. In 23, Fayetteville won it and went on to win the state championship. But really kind of like when you're talking about Bryant and state championships, you're also talking about conference championships with Bentonville. And, they lost a quarterback, the Slepicki kid. And Aiden McCarthy is stepping in as the Evan Canode is taking over at quarterback this year, and you got to think that they have just kind of moved kids through there. You think they've got a chance to do well. Aiden McCarthy is their number 1 receiver. He's going to be one of those kids that they're going to lean on offensively. One of the things that I noticed about Bentonville was the lack of size that they have with their ball carriers. Very smallish quarterback, running backs. That doesn't mean they're not fast. But one thing I noticed was their line is massive. 275, 300, 285, 260, and 300 are the sizes of the offensive line at Bentonville. 6'3", 6'4", 6'4", 6'4". Now, those are massive high school kids. And just off the top of my head, just doing a mathematic average here, they're about 280 as their average on the high school line. That is huge. So they're going to be big on the line. They're not going to be so big with their ball carriers, but we know Coach Jody Grant just does such a great job there. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
6'4", 280?
Yes, well, that's the average. It's about 6'4", 280. 6'4", 4 6'4s and a 6'3". The 6'3 is a 300-pounder, big old kid. I mean, that's probably as big as some of the starting lines at D2 this year at like Arkansas Tech. Maybe Harding, maybe not. Harding seems to be a little bigger, but I mean that size.
Do you know Erling Holland he plays soccer for Norway.
No.
He was in the World Cup this year.
No.
He is 6'4", 200.
Yeah. Well,
and he's a big guy himself, right. And he runs like nobody's business. So, I mean, you're talking, this guy plays on the world stage, and these guys are just high schoolers.
These guys don't run like he does, but they
probably not.
But they could knock him down. I can tell you that for sure.
Probably.
If they could catch him. Anyway, Bentonville West, and they like to be called West. They don't like to be called Bentonville West. They're actually located in Centerton.
And we just call them West?
That's what they want to be called, is West, but the official name for the school is Bentonville West. They fall under the Bentonville School District, but they have such a rivalry with Bentonville that they don't want to be called Bentonville West. Anyway, that being said, interesting for them, of course, they replace a stud in Trey Thompson as their quarterback. Running threat, throwing threat, big-time player. Aaron Orgill may start there. He started at Pulaski Academy last year. Now, do you know anything about where Pulaski Academy is? I assume you do.
Private school?
They're a private school.
I've been there.
In Pulaski County.
Yeah.
Right? Little Rock.
Yeah.
So they moved, right? They moved up there, and I think he may have the inside track to be the starter there at West. Rogers, again, replacing a big-time quarterback in Jeff Regan, and it looks like Jagger Blockberger is going to be the guy there up in Rogers. Rogers has had the most potent offense in quite a while. Last year, hanging 70 many times. And Rogers was 2 minutes away. 2 minutes away from knocking off Bryant and playing in the state championship where they would have played Bentonville. But 2 minutes away from winning that ball game. And they blew a 2-score lead with 2 minutes to go. And that ended their season. And Bryant ended up winning the state championship game and broke Bentonville's heart again. Mm-hmm. How does Shiloh compete in the 7A? So Shiloh, in 1998, Shiloh won the 2A state championship for the first time in their history against who?
Glasgow Academy.
No. Team go, if you drive this way on this road, right out here, about 20 miles, Hector. So 2A state championship in Hector, or against Hector, they won that game. And now they are a 7A competitor.
So they got moved up all the way?
So they have moved up in every class since then. They've been 2A, they've been 3A, they've been 4A, 5A, 6A, 7A. And if I'm not mistaken, they didn't win a 5A state championship. They won 2A. I believe they won 3A. They won 4A. I don't think they won 5A. Then they beat Greenwood last year to win a 6A state championship, and then they move up. They are the defending 6A state champions. They will not be able to defend it because they're not in 6A anymore. In fact, the interesting thing, an interesting storyline in high school football here in Arkansas is the 2 6A participants last year. One of them's in 5A, Greenwood, and the other one is in 7A, Shiloh. Greenwood was in 5A for the longest time, but since 2013, which I believe was their first year in 6A. Maybe they had one stint in 6A, fell back to 5A, and then went back up into 6A. Well, now they're back into 5A again. And, that 5A, the top of 5A is crazy good. And we'll talk about that as we get closer to the season. Harbor picked up 3 wins last year in 2025. That was improvement over what they've had done over the last several years. How many will they win this year? Can they make it back to the playoffs again this year? Last year, they were within an eyelash of beating Greenwood. Kane Archer had to lead Greenwood down on the last second drive and ended up going for 2 in that game and winning that ball game to keep the winning streak alive. But then Harbor was able to make the playoffs last year. They lost in the first round. First time they've made the playoffs in quite a while. Here's one that is interesting right now for me. Fayetteville is picked, by the coaches, they're picked 7th in the conference. That's unheard of over there at Fayetteville. So what does Anthony Lucas do to change the tide there at Fayetteville? Can he get that thing going? Cade Rogers or Remington Thomas at quarterback. Who's going to play quarterback for Fayetteville? Not a lot of returnees for Fayetteville off a very talented team last year. A team, though, that went 7-5 last year despite their talent. Not too many real big-time contributing players to return for Fayetteville. So Anthony Lucas got he's got his work cut out for him here. Farmington, we're dropping down into 5A now. The Farmington Cardinals won 9 games last season. Under Tommy Tice, Farmington has won 21 games over the last 2 seasons. Now, the interesting part about that is, number one, a lot of people thought Tommy Tice was done. He had retired. I can't remember how long he had been out of coaching. I know that My wife was there, and I think he might have been his last year at Huntsville. So he had been retired for several years. He comes back. He takes him to a state title game. He didn't win much at Huntsville, but Huntsville hasn't won a lot in several years. I mean, since the 90s, really. But they bring back a two-time All-State quarterback in Slade Norwood, 2,830 yards passing, 35 touchdown passes last year. And they return 5 offensive players, 6 defensive players. Dropping down in the 4A, you've got the Gravette Lions. Are they going to be able to knock off the Elkins Elks this year? Gravette is a really good squad. A really, really good team there. Gravette, I think they made the third round of the playoffs last year. Kelby Bohannon, fantastic job there at Gravette. Elkins, though, they won state last year. And in my opinion, Elkins probably had their third best team in 3 years when they won the state championship. Felt like the 23 team that lost the semifinals of Harding Academy was their best team that they've ever had. Their 24 team was not too far behind it. They made it to the state finals where they lost to Arkadelphia 28-7. That game got away from Elkins there at the end of the game, or in the fourth quarter. It got away from them because it was 7-7 going into the fourth. And then last season, they were able to overcome and win and beat Dardanelle for the state championship. Looking at them, looking at Gravette real quick. Gravette has got the Beam kid at 6 foot, 205 pounds. Last year rushed for 20 TDs on the season. Over 1,000-yard rusher, 20 touchdowns last year as a runner. Probably need to be looking out for him on the D3 auto sales list, I would think. Cade Phillips also comes back for them. Caught 30 balls last year for 650 yards. Elkins brings back Austin Bourne. Bourne is listed at 6'2", 215. The thing about Bourne is he showed his running ability against Dardanelle, breaking off a few long runs in that state championship game when that thing was getting deadlocked. He broke the game open, and they ended up winning the state championship game in the 4A. You've got Josh Ham. He's moving in from wide receiver to running back. The thing that you always know about Elkins is their physicality. They're very, very physical at the point of attack. They're going to hit you. Josh Price said something in our Jacksonville event there last Friday. He said that Elkins had the 5 best defensive players that he had seen all season long there at Elkins when he was in the semifinals. Waiting on y'all, Coach Green. Yes, sir. Waiting on us to come on down south and talk to your teams. Well, let's touch base about that. We've got Van Buren next week, and we've got a full list of that, which we'll talk about that before it's over. And then we've got Jonesboro, I believe, on the 31st. So that's what we're looking like there. Steve Ferris says, how will Boonville do this year? Well, Steve, we're going to talk to Boonville next week. They're going to be our first team to get kicked off here on our Van Buren event next week. Coach Doc Crowley will be joining us. We got a great event.
They're getting kicked off?
Well, I mean, we're going to kick it off.
Us kicked off.
Yeah, starting. We got a great event.
We're going to get their kickoff.
Well, let's just give you that while we get an opportunity. We might as well, right?
Is that accurate, real quick?
Well, no, it's not.
Okay, because
it isn't.
Okay, because you had
we are not set on Jonesboro just yet. We are set on Van Buren. We're not set on Jonesboro. I mean, and the only reason I say that is right now there's not a lot that's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we're talking out loud here. I'm trying to get my Van Buren event pulled up here. Coach Green, man, appreciate old Coach Green. I love me some Coach Green. Now, Coach Green, I will say this. I'm just being real with you about Lake Village. It is a long way down there. And it might be better for us to maybe go to Camden. That way we're able to maybe have a little bit more of a centralized location. It's closer to us, but I'm saying in general in the southeast. Okay, so our Van Buren event right now, Doc Crowley at 10, Ricky May at 10:30, Craig Bentley of Mena at 11, Dom Meraki at Fort Smith Northside at 11:30, Jeremy Burns at Alma at noon, Ryan Chambers at Magazine at 12:30, Mo Henry, Van Buren at 1, Mason Wan, Hackett 2 or 1:30, Josh Watson, Ozark 2, Phil Vega, Dardanelle 2:30, Whit Overton, Mansfield 3 o'clock, and Jason Gill of Greenwood 3:30. That's a great lineup there. Probably since we've been doing this, it's probably been our best lineup of coaches and teams. So be on the lookout for that next week, next Friday here. And again, if I wake up and my back is not right, then we've got
we got a backup.
We got a backup. We're going to be ready to go next week. I thought my back was getting better. I'm not going to lie. So it's a little bit disappointing. And I mean, if we've got enough, he said, well, make it worth your while. Good vibes and great food. I love it. All y'all have to do is show up. I love it, man.
We love some great food.
Yes, sir.
We're foodies.
Yes,
for
sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir. We may have to, if we go all the way to Lake Village, we may just have to go down to Greenville and just do it at the casino in Mississippi.
Wow.
I bet we could get some coaches down there, right?
You probably couldn't get any students, but you can get some coaches.
Yeah, right. So I'll give you a quick story about that. We're going to Florida. My son was like 6, I believe. And I mean, we've been driving. We did it on purpose. We left later so the kids would sleep in the car a little bit, and then, we'd get to the hotel a little bit later. And basically, we're just trying to make it further down so that we didn't have to drive the whole way. It's about 9-10 hours, Pensacola, whatever it is. So anyway, we get down there and we go to the casino there at Greenville to stay. Very nice place, by the way. And we walk in. Of course, my son, he's just wiping his eyes, and he looks. He goes, "Dad, an arcade." Yes, son.
Lights and sounds.
Yes, it
Kinda
is.
Feels like it.
I mean, that's basically what it is. It's like Chuck E. Cheese for a grown seller, right? Anyway, so let's get back to football real quick. Rogers offensive coordinator Nick Brill takes over at Prairie Grove. Interesting to see what they do. They've been very successful. They've been a solid third in that conference behind Gravette and Elkins over the last few years. And they transition. They're going to go from a wing T offense to more of a spread. They're going to throw the ball a little bit more. They brought a quarterback in from Harbor named Noah Bowling. I assume he's going to be the starter. That may be wrong. But I think he's going to be the starter there. Now, again, I could be wrong. They did say that Aiden Lucas is lining up there at quarterback as well. And he could be more of a running type of quarterback there at Prairie Grove. So quarterback situation there is going to be interesting. And then Gentry's kind of been a solid fourth there in the 4A1 over the last few years. Tyler Clark is 16-7 there. They are inexperienced at quarterback though, and how do they work through that? And then Berryville. Berryville is projected to make the playoffs this year, which would be the first time in, I think, since 92, if I'm not mistaken. David Bartlett from McGee, thank you, man. Thank you for joining in. Hoots Barbecue in McGee. I've heard so many good things about Hoots, but I've never had it. It's one of those places. It's got to be on a bucket list at some point. We'd made it down to McGee one time. We just had to leave so late we weren't able to get to Hoots before we went to the game. Great place of football down there at McGee. C.T. Hicks at quarterback for Berryville this year. He's a returning playmaker. He was a real playmaker for Berryville. Probably their best quarterback in some time. There for Berryville, again, planning on making the playoffs this year. It'd be interesting to see what happens there at Berryville. Now, again, we're talking NWA football, Northwest Arkansas style. Not the NWA that played earlier, but NWA football. Brock May at Greenland dropping down into 3A. There's not that many. You think there's a bunch of football playing schools up there. There's not a ton of football playing schools up there. You got to get off into Huntsville. Huntsville's over there. If you want to count Mountain Home and Harrison, they're over there, but they're getting further east. I didn't include them over into that. You go all the way down to Mountainburg. Mountainburg's kind of that in-between NWA and the River Valley. In fact, Mountainburg is 37 miles from Fayetteville and 35 miles from Fort Smith, right in the dead middle there. So I didn't include them either. But Brock May helped the Greenland Pirates improve last year. The question is now, can he help them take the next step in that conference with Mansfield and with Charleston? Those are two of the big ones. He gets a chance to play his dad. Look at it. Darius Green, he's saying Hoots is 15 minutes from Lake Village. Anyway.
He's really wanting us down there.
Listen, I'm telling you, Coach Green really is one of my favorites. We had a great time talking with him last year, but just a great guy. He always interacts with us. We appreciate him.
Amen.
And Coach, are you a preacher? Anyway, he'll answer that in just a second. I think he is. I think he's a preacher too. Anyway, Greenland lines up a running back, 6'1", 213 pounds. There, that's going to be a load, and I would assume he's going to get his share of carries there at Greenland. They list the gun T as their offense, and that's a run-heavy offense. West Fork, Carson Jones throws for 1,700 yards for the Tigers. He said that I am. Don't tell everyone. I love it. Yeah, I thought so.
You just told everyone.
Right. Well, whoever's watching this right now.
Don't listen.
Anyway, Carson Jones throws for 1,700 yards for West Fork. Coach McKenzie over there doing a good Sheldon McKenzie over there. The interesting part about what West Fork is doing, I'm circling it right now. 10 starters on offense returning, 9 starters on defense returning. Now, I don't know. Sometimes when you return starters, that means that you return a bunch of bad players. I'm not saying they are. All I'm saying is that sometimes that's the way it is. But almost every single time a team returns that many starters in high school, they make the playoffs. Almost every time. So, with that said, can West Fork ride the experience they have to make the playoffs? That's going to be a question there at West Fork this year.
You're correct.
They could make it. They could make it. So, all that being said, that's actually pretty much covered. We didn't talk about Huntsville. A few others that we didn't touch on, but those guys are there. We didn't touch on Rogers Heritage coach Max Wischausen there at Rogers Heritage for the first time. He was an OC at Farmington under Coach Tommy Tice. He steps up as the coach at Heritage. Heritage hasn't won much. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, 34 losses in a row, if I'm not mistaken. And anyway, all that said, Max Wischausen going to try to turn that thing around over there at Heritage, see if they can get it going up there. Now, Rogers High is the new school. The Rogers Mounties is the new school, and Rogers Heritage is the one that has been there a while because it's
a heritage.
It's a heritage. So anyway, Rogers High has had some successes under Coach Chad Harbison, and I think what they did over there is try to get the next Chad Harbison. Harbison is quite the offensive guy there at Rogers. So anyway, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I've got here. Talking about NWA football, we'll definitely talk about more NWA football as we go. But that's what I got. What do you think? You got any thoughts? Now,
go team.
let's talk geography again here. Now, we left out Fort Smith. We didn't Van Buren. We didn't talk about them. Alma, didn't talk about them. Greenwood, didn't talk about them. I mean, is that Northwest or is that something else? What do you think?
Say that one more time.
Okay.
Who are some of those? Because I got a map.
Okay, so Fort Smith teams, we didn't talk about them.
Okay.
We didn't talk about Greenwood, which Greenwood's just south.
I mean, because remember, technically, according to the state and the way that most people draw the map, us here in Polk County, we're technically Northwest. I don't think so. I don't think we're far enough to be considered Northwest.
Right.
Though we're like the one of the first major stops if you're headed that direction.
NWA, when you talk about NWA, Springdale, Bentonville, Rogers.
Compton. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Right.
But yeah, no, because that's like the extreme Northwest, Fayetteville, Springdale, Harrison, Farmington, Elkins.
See, on this map, when you're the one that you've got pulled up, can you put that on the screen there?
Yeah, if you give me a second.
The map you got pulled up, Harrison definitely looks like NWA, which
is
Van Pascal. Well, if you've ever lived over there, I'm going to tell you, when you talk about feel, it don't feel like NWA. I'll say that. It definitely don't, because once you get past Springdale, you go out there and there's really nothing. There's Huntsville. There's about 30 miles to Huntsville on 412, and then it's kind of you got Highway 62 that's above 412. 62 kind of follows that same pattern. You got Eureka Springs and Berryville, but they're about 35, 40 miles away, and then all of that 412 and 62 meets up over there at Alpena. And so you got 35 miles. You got 35 here. Is it? We start.
It's back here.
Weatherman.
Weatherman Brad Caldwell here.
So you go right here. There's Harrison. That right there looks, like NWA, right? For sure. And then, of course, Mountain Home looks a little far over there. But
yeah, because it's a lot further east than we are.
Right.
So I wouldn't count that as...
But see, they play in the 6A West. Look at this. Okay, so if you draw a picture... Now, I will say, AAA, I don't have a problem with what AAA does. But I will say this. Mountain Home, up here, 6A West.
Do they consider that?
And they get all the way down here to Benton, which I can't. I don't know if I can move my chair. Unless I guess I can switch sides here.
There you go. Look at that. Weatherman Caldwell.
So weird. So, like, Benton is over here somewhere. So it's like right there. Right there. So, there you go.
You see that
helps.
Better?
That helps. They're not too far. Anyway, but Benton plays in the 6A East. Mountain Home plays in 6A West. But there ain't much other gripes. If you look at their maps. Anyway, you got Jonesboro over here. That's definitely not NWA.
That's definitely not.
Batesville, Mountain Home, not. But you go all the way over here to Harrison, NWA.
And then Farmington's like right next to Fayetteville.
Yes.
Elkins is kind of up in that that area.
We talked about Alma.
Alma's past us going west, right?
Alma's over here,
somewhere.
like about right there, and then you got Van Buren. That's just north of Fort Smith.
You're saying Fort Smith's not NWA?
Well, that's what I'm saying. And then you got Mountainburg, like right here.
Ish.
Anyway, now we're just jabbering, just for entertainment purposes only, right?
I think the people like it.
Yeah. Well, anybody
not-
saying anything about it?
They're not writing. There's no pitchforks
Yeah.
or torches. They're not outside the studio.
I will say, when it comes down to it, I do know some geography. I'm pretty good at it. I'm not gonna lie.
You're not too far off.
Anyway.
With your point in there.
It's the first time I ever played Weatherman. Anyway.
What's the weather, Weatherman?
Right. Anyway, guys, we appreciate you joining us here. We're going to talk more football, and I'll be honest with you, I really am, and I'm a little embarrassed by the fact that we weren't able to make it to Fayetteville today for our Football Friday. I apologize to the coaches there that were coming. I do apologize. I am sorry about it. Just, man, this morning it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working. And then hopefully, maybe we can make it up. I know that Coach Lucas actually asked me, he said, can we go up there and make it up? If we could get enough interest in coming back, I would love to. But I do understand if people don't want to mess with it. I get it. My nose is itching. Anyway, guys, we're out of here. Appreciate you joining us. We wanted to talk a little bit of football on Football Friday. And again, next week we'll be in Van Buren. Got a great lineup for you. And Coach Green, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it, man. We are running out of summer, though, as you know. Anyway, guys, we're out of here. Appreciate you joining us. We'll see you later.
That was NWA Arkansas.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.